Hello world and welcome back to the Dragon Corps YouTube channel. We are again here to learn Java. Guys, in today's lecture, we're going to be learning about a topic that is perhaps the most important topic in any programming language. So, if you're beginning to learn how to code, then this should be perhaps the first topic that you should study, because this topic, guys, believe it or not, decides that your software or your program, how much memory does it take on the client's computer, whether it is a memory hanging deep software or whether it is a lightweight software. Taking an example over here is Facebook. In your Android phones, you prefer to work with Facebook Lite, whereas the real app is Facebook, which you don't prefer to use because Facebook is a heavy app. It takes a lot of memory on your computer, and when it is loaded at runtime in your main memory, which is RAM, your phone gets hanged many a times. So you prefer to use Facebook Lite, which is a lightweight software. So in order to make your software popular among people or among clients, it should be lightweight. That's why we are here to learn this topic, because this topic plays an important role in making your software lightweight. Alright, because believe it or not, the main role of the heaviness of it, the reason why your software becomes heavy is because unnecessarily you provide some extra space to your variables in the main memory, whether they need it or not. You provide them unnecessarily. Well, that's why you need to know what type of data types to use. Well, our today's topic is data types, and what data types to use and when to use. All these things are we're going to learn today. So let's move on to the topic. I'm going to be discussing, first of all, I'm going to be discussing the categories in which the data type is divided. Right. So the data types over here, our data types are divided into two broad classifications over here, which are primitive and non-primitive respectively. Alright. So primitive data types, let's talk about it. Primitive data type is divided into two main categories, which is simple and easy as that, like non-numeric and numeric data types. Alright. So numeric data type consists of a memory allocation. Numeric data types are those data types which deal with the memory allocation of those values that are numeric, that is 1, 2, 3, 1.5, 2.5, be it a fraction or non-fractional data type, be it a decimal or non-decimal data type. Be it a fraction or non-fractional value, be it a decimal or non-decimal value. You can store them with the help of these data types. Alright. Now, on the basis of space which are reserved for these data types in the computer's main memory by the compiler, we decide what data type to use and when to use. Alright. All these data types are reserved, get reserved a particular specific amount of space in computer's main memory by the compiler, and all these data types are used on the basis of that. We have here again numeric data type is divided into two subcategories, that is integer and floating type data type. Alright. So integer data type consists of non-fractional values. These data types are only used where your non-fractional values are to be stored. Alright, non-fractional or non-decimal values, if we say clearly, like 8, 9, 10. Alright, no point values, 9.5, 2.5, 6, 7, 8, or pi, values such as pi, 3.14 and so on. No point values are to be stored while using these data types, or else the compiler would give a severe error. Alright, so if your value is long but is not consisting of a decimal value, then these data types come into picture. Alright. Now, depending on the amount of space these data types get reserved in the computer's main memory during the runtime by the compiler, these data types are to be used. Alright. These, like for example, I don't know much about what type, how much space do they get. You can grab this information from the original website of Oracle, because Java is a different language. Alright, it is different from C or Python. In Java, you might have noticed in C language, the char data type takes 1 byte, whereas in Java the char data type takes 2 bytes. Similar is the case with all these data types. They might take reserve different amount of space than other languages. Alright, so you should take this information from the original website of Oracle. This byte may take a different amount of space in the computer's main memory. Short may take a different amount of space. Int may take a different amount of space, where int actually takes 2 bytes. In Java, int takes 2 bytes. So if your value is under 2 bytes, int is your tool. You can use int for storing your values, int data type for storing your values. All right. So if you name a variable and you are in need of a data type that can allow 2 bytes of space, because you know that your value cannot exceed 2 bytes of space, so you are in need of a data type that reserves specific 2 bytes of space in the computer's main memory, then you can, in that case, you can use int. All right. Now if you want a shorter data type, if you want that the amount of space to be reserved in the computer's main memory is less than 2 bytes, then you use short. All right. Actually, yeah. And then if you want and successively, if you want the amount of space that you require, according to that you use these data types. All right. Now let's coming on to the point values and decimal values. Now when to use, many people have this question, when to use the double data type and float data, when to use the float data type, because they do the same work, almost same work they do. All right. So this is the answer to the question. Double data type is to be used when your decimal value does not exceed above 2 decimal places. All right. So if the outcome of a particular calculation results in a value such as 8.25, see, there are 2 decimal places only, 2 decimal places and 1 decimal places. If you know that your outcome is going to be is not going to be exceeding 2 decimal places, it is going to be 2 decimal places at most, then double is your data type. You should use double. If you know that your calculation is going to give an output that is exceeding 2 decimal places, that is 8.25, 6, 7, 8, 9 and so on, then float is your variable. Float is the preferred data type that you should use in that case. All right. So this was the numeric part. I hope you understood that. If you have any question, then mention in the comment section below, please. I would be highly privileged to answer those questions. So primitive is coming to the second part of the primitive data type, which is non-numeric part. All right. So far we've talked about the numeric, all the digital values. Now we're going to be talking about the characters value. All right. So what is a character? Any alphabet or any single symbol is known as a character, like A, B, C, dollar, or any number which is in the single quotes. Remember this, guys, any number or any alphabet which is under single quotes is known as a character. All right. A single symbol is known as a character, be it a digit or a alphabet, doesn't matter. If it is under single quotes, it is a character in this programming language over here. All right. So let's coming on to the char data type. We use this data type in order to store a character value. All right. See, I've written an example over here. I've taken a variable A, but I've marked this variable A with the data type as char. So it will be taking 2 bytes of space in the computer main memory to store the values, because our values can differ from maybe our value may take 1 byte or 2 byte. So the maximum character value can take is 2 bytes. So we've reserved a maximum of 2 bytes of space in the computer main memory by specifying the data type as char. Now I've stored a character as B. See, again here it is a point to be noted. I've put this value under the single quotes. Now this shows that this is a character value. This shows that this is a character value and should be stored in a char data type variable. A variable whose data type is char. So this is an example of char data type. All right. Now here it can be under single quote. It can be any number, any digit, any symbol, dollar. Even a dollar can be over here. All right. So any data you can store any data, any single symbol that you store over here goes under this variable, under the container of this variable with char data type. Coming on to the Boolean value. Now this is a Boolean data type. Now this is the second type of data type that stores 2 types of values. All right. It has only 2 types of reserved value that you can store in it, either true or false. In any language, if there is a Boolean data type, you can store only 2 values. It is either true or either false. All right. If I write Boolean A equals to, then I should store. See, I have taken a variable with data type as Boolean. Now what can I store in it? I cannot store a name or a character value or a digit value. So I am only required to store either true or false, where like this. All right. Basically, the Boolean data type variable with a Boolean data type is usually used under those calculation under where a function returns a value of a particular decision making statement. All right. So I hope so far you've understood each and everything over this part. Alright. So moving on to the next category of data types, which is the non-primitive data type. Now this is the part where you have to focus under the object-oriented programming, because I think this part is common in every programming language, but this part is specific, programming language specific. Now there are three main categories of under the non-primitive data type category. Alright, which is derived data type, string data type, and user defined data type. Now first I'll be talking about these two. What is a derived data type? The derived word itself means derived from something else, alright, depending upon something that is pre-existing, that is existing previously, alright, already made thing. It is taken out of an already made thing. That is the meaning of derived. Similar is the case with the data types that come under it, like arrays and linked list. Here I have written an example of arrays. I think you know what array is. If you don't know, then don't worry. You can go to my previous playlist. That is there I've told how to deal with arrays, how to deal with switch cases, if else, and basic structures of a programming language. There you can see how an array looks like and how to work with an array. What is an array? Array is actually a data type which is also used as a memory structure to store data in your computer. Right. So this is the way how we declare an array. If you want to store some values in an array, I've seen why we called it as a derived data type, because already we have data types, right? Here already we have some data types which are known as primitive data types. Now if this array is a data type, then why we have to declare this int over here? We declare this int over here because we see the definition of array suggests that array is a memory structure that stores similar type of values. So to store similar type of values, you need to specify what type of values you're going to store in it. So in the array, if you want to store all the digital values, that means 1, 2, 3, 4 and so on, or all the point values, that is 2.35, 5.76, then you need to specify it over here. So we use a primitive data type to declare an array. So a data type which is used by using a primitive data type. That is why this data type array is known as a derived data type, because it is derived from a pre-existing data type, that is a primitive one. Int over here, you can make it here I have taken only the integer values, right? 1, 2, 3 and 4. That's why I have declared int over here. If you want to store A, B, C and D, like A, B, C and D over here, then you can mention the char data type over here, like character array. You can make a character array. Let me show you the structure. I hope you've understood this part over here. Let me show you how these values are stored in the array. I've taken a char data type array. Alright. So A is the name of this box over here, which is similar to that place where your values are stored in the computer's main memory. Alright. Like the registers and all, where I've stored A, B, C and D. The values are stored which are stored in the array, right? I declared previously. So this is the array which I named as A, if you remember, and these are the values that are stored in it. So this is how an array looks like, and this is how it stores value in your computer's main memory. So I think you've got the point why we call array as a derived data type, because it is derived from a pre-existing data type. So I think this point is clear over here. Now linked lists are the same as arrays, except for the fact that instead of boxes we use a separate technique, like which are called nodes. We use these circles which are known as nodes, and it has a head and a tail. So what is the use of a head and tail? Actually the address of this node is stored, address of the next node is stored over here. So the address of next node is stored over here. Alright. So these are connected through these links over here. This is how a linked list works. Let's not talk about it over here, because we'll be talking about it indeed in later upcoming videos. Alright. So I hope you understand this derived data type part over here. Now coming on to the user-defined data type. Now, as the name suggests, the user-defined data types consist of class and structure. If you might have studied C, you might have known how a structure works. You put the logic in that thing, in that pair of braces. That is why it is known as a user-defined data type. The user defines all the logic what that data type should do. So this is known as a user-defined data type. Now over here in my previous video, I told you how a class works and how an object works. Alright. So I made object and used all the properties that were consisted in that class. So now I'm going to tell you why a class is called a user-defined data type. Because we put the logic inside the class and it runs. Alright. So basically we're making a data type. Now if anyone by chance asks you why a class is called a user-defined data type, then that probably has a separate way to explain. So I'm going to explain it over here. So this point is very interesting over here.